So, welcome once again. Let's resume our study of the book Compassionate Objectivity. And just a reminder, these are the words of Master Chokoksui. That's why they are important to us. That's why we make an effort to try to understand them. Master has packed his knowledge in, through sutras which require unpacking, and that is the effort that we are doing. This particular book that we are studying right now, there are six other books like this, but we chose this book because Master has given a lot of importance to character development. Therefore, we have started with this book. So, yeah. And the section we are in is now related to the fourth virtue in the sequence of five virtues, which is the one-pointedness, constancy of aim and effort, and non-laziness. And we had discussed how this is, the previous three virtues. This virtue helps us implement them in our lives. This virtue is related to the will aspect, the power aspect, the Shiva aspect, right? And the base of this is industriousness and non laziness. And when we say industriousness and non laziness, this is at physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, all levels. Yeah. And when we went looked at the heading on page 41, it said sharp mind is not enough or it's not the end. So that is again a reminder. In the previous virtue, we developed the mind, but now we are learning that the mind is only an instrument, and the end. The what is even more important is what the mind tells us we must incorporate in life. For example, most of us, we know we have to, have greater physical fitness. So it requires physical effort. Mind is already telling us that. But, we need to actually get down to doing it. All right. So we were on page 44. We had done the first sutra. Now let's continue from the next sutra. Once you have a target, follow it until you hit it. You must behave like a heat seeking missile. Whatever you start, you should finish. I don't know if you have noticed, but a lot of times one sutra talks about two different things. So one thing here is once you have a target, follow it until you hit it. Hit it means you reach it or you achieve it. So the example master is giving is of a heat-seeking missile. So heat-seeking missile, how does it work? It is fired towards a target, and every target, whether it's an aircraft or it's a tank or anything like that, it 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 generates heat. So this heat seeking missile, it is locked into that heat generating object, and even if the object will deviate, it will move in another direction, the missile will keep following it. It is locked into that source of heat, and it will just keep following it even though the target is changing direction. The missile will also change direction and keep following it until it hits the target. Of course, now there are laser guided bombs and smart bombs and AI guided bombs. But of course, the time Master wrote this book, the state of the art was heat seeking missile. So the second point he's making is whatever you start, you should finish. That is the meaning of will. That is the meaning of commitment. So there are many stories about Master Choa. Lot of stories about Master Choa about, he took something up. Midway, he realized, well, this is perhaps not as great as I thought it will be. Like there was some expedition he went to in the Himalayas and his body was not well. And yet he insisted. People told him, why don't we, halfway, people started saying, why don't we go back? But he said, no, I always finish what I start. And I believe, I've just heard this, that he kept chanting Om Namah Shivaya Om, Om Namah Shivaya Om, because an extra dose of will was required to complete that expedition. Are you with me? I hope you can understand what I'm talking about. So that is what he is telling us, that the role of the will is that we should finish what we begin. Yeah, that is where will gets developed. That is how, you know, sometimes it will happen. You start something, you realize, well, it's not as great as I thought it would be, or why am I doing this? But the reminder here is finish what you start. Do you know this? Spreading pranic healing in any area is, at the initial stage, it takes the most amount of effort. And Master Choa, in his lifetime, was able to bring it to almost, I think, about 80 plus countries, more than 80 countries. And he has somewhere explained how he did it. He said, I just take the first step, then the next step, then the next step, then the next. And it is will that kept pushing him forward. If you are aware of the seven rays, so Master Choa in many ways was ray one, strong will, never give up. And what he says is that if I had known how much work will be involved, maybe I would not have started on the journey. But he just kept looking at the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step. And it's quite amazing that in his lifetime, he was able to bring pranic healing to 80 countries. And it's, bringing to a new region in the beginning is the most difficult. And yet he was able to. I hope it doesn't scare you. I hope it doesn't sound like too much work or overwork. You see, all of us have a choice. We can progress slowly or we can progress rapidly. There is no force. No one else will make it compulsory for us to do something. It is the choice is ours. If we want to evolve faster, if we want greater abilities, greater ability to serve, if we want to progress spiritually faster, it's our choice. There is in theosophy, they talk about a law of nature. What is that law of nature? That if we keep making more efforts, nature will reward us by giving us more opportunities. But we have an opportunity, we don't use it, nature will take away what we are wasting. Because if we don't use an opportunity, it's like we are wasting it. So nature will take it away. That unfortunately is how nature works. That is how this world, God has created this world with these rules. What can we do? We can just try to learn the rules and follow the rules. Yeah. All right. Let's go on. Constancy of aim and effort means constantly thinking of the steps needed to accomplish your plan. Define your purpose. Make a thorough alternative analysis. What is the most effective and easiest way to achieve the end result? This is beautiful. This is very, very practical guidance. What Master is telling us is, of course, you have to use your divine power, but integrate divine light, divine intelligence into your divine power, into your efforts, into your mental effort, emotional effort, physical effort. So the way I understand it is you start with a purpose. There has to be a purpose. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this? Right? Now, to achieve the purpose, the mental effort is thinking about alternative paths to reach or to achieve that purpose. Are you understanding? It is sometimes we may just think of the one obvious way, but that one obvious way may have problems that we cannot foresee right now. So it is important to think of different ways, alternative ways. Also important to think of backup plans. Okay, I will start doing it like this, but supposing things don't work out the way I'm planning, what is my plan B? Have you heard plan B, the word, the term plan B? What is my plan B? This is the mental effort that you have to make. And then once you have a few options, you say, okay, this seems to be the best option. It will take, it covers the most amount of possible problems. It seems to use the my available resources in the best way, so I will use this. That is the mental effort that is required. And to me also, it also means that if I mean, we are not talking about trivial things, we are talking about some good, powerful purpose. Now then, what we are talking about is an immersion, mental immersion. Yeah, I want to achieve this. What are the different ways? Okay, this is the way I have chosen. Why? Because this, reason one, two, three, four. Okay, this method I have chosen to achieve the purpose. What if I encounter problems? What is my plan B? What is my plan C? Yeah. So see clearly. That's what Master is talking about here. You need to see clearly. There's another very good and very well-known, person, Stephen Covey. I don't know if you've heard of him. If you've not, please make a note. Stephen Covey, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. One of his seven techniques is begin with the end in mind, which means to see the end clearly. Be very clear. Because, this also happens. Many times, halfway you realize, why am I doing this? And meanwhile, you have already spent a lot of time and energy. And it is not good that now you leave it halfway. We talked about it. And you should finish what you start. So it is important to know what is the purpose. Why am I doing something? That becomes very important. Okay, let's move on. There must be conviction in your words. A person who stands by his words must first see clearly, think clearly, and formulate the plan properly before making a commitment. Now, this is very important for other people to trust you. You see, if you make commitments very easily and then you fail, or you give up, or you do not meet the commitment, slowly people will stop trusting you. Yeah, and it happens because we don't think through. Somebody says, oh, this needs to be done. You say, oh, I'll do it. But have you thought through what does it require to do? What are the steps required? That's what Master is saying. First, see clearly, formulate the plan properly, and then make a commit. Otherwise, what will happen? You commit very easily, and then you find that maybe that thing is outside your capability. It requires more time or more effort or more resources than what you have planned. And then it's not going to work. And what will happen when you do that? People will stop trusting you. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. A person must be reliable to have constancy. You must have one pointedness. You must keep your commitments. You must be reliable and trustworthy. Be one pointed. Power comes from voluntary inner restriction or one pointedness in purpose and effort. I think the second part of this, it is if we really value this virtue, better print it and frame it so that you see it every day. Because what Master is talking about is that, you see, the first part we already talked about, the commitment. So trust will increase when you keep your promises. It will reduce if you keep breaking your promise. But the more, I think the new thing here we are talking about is the inner restrictions. Inner restrictions is the same as discipline. And voluntary inner restriction. So the voluntary word now leads us to the requirement of will. So willfully you practice discipline. For example, you say, okay, there is morning World Pranic Healing conducts morning erratic practice at 7 a.m. I will get up from tomorrow and do this. Great. But you will have to be able to meet that objective, you will have to maybe sleep on time. Because if you don't sleep on time, maybe one day or 2 days you will get up, through willpower. But then the third day, fourth day, it will be difficult. How long can you cut out on your sleep, the necessary sleep? Or you get up in the morning on time, you sleep on time, you get up on time, but you get distracted. In the morning, you say, no, no, let me check the WhatsApp messages first. Let me send this email to somebody first. Oh, what is happening on Facebook? Let me go and see. On Insta, something is happening. A lot of distractions are there. So, what is the restriction we are talking about? Make sure you arrange your life so that you sleep on time, you get up on time, because you have set the objective 7 o'clock. I must be ready and join the morning aratic. Just giving you an example. Anything that you require, it needs you to say no to a few things. That is what one pointedness means. You are focused and you are shutting out everything else. That is the inner restriction. That is the discipline. That is where the will comes in. Because, unfortunately, the world is full of distractions and very attractive distractions. And the example, it's not given here, but somewhere else, Master gives the example. A steam engine is able to drive a car or a train or, anything, because the steam is kept restricted. Are you aware how engines work? There is a chamber and some combustion takes place, so the gases expand. Now, if the gases were to leak out or they were to just be left open, they will achieve no work. But because they are kept in enclosed space, in the piston, they are able to make the car or the train or even an aircraft move. Otherwise, they will just dissipate, they will just lose their power. So, they are able to generate useful power because they are restricted. And that is what Master is trying to tell us. And it's a reminder, we've talked about the power of focus. You remember last time we talked about focus. Sunlight is there. You take a piece of paper, put it in the sun, nothing will happen to it. But you take a magnifying glass or your reading glasses and you focus the sun rays. The paper in a few seconds will start burning. That is the power of limitation, power of restriction, power of focus. And that is very, very important. Yeah. Okay, let's just do one more sutra, or let's do the next two. They're related. Having a good heart is not enough. This is where the will comes in. This is where the purpose comes in. You have to have the will to do good. You need power. Good heart is good, but power is necessary. Power under love, under intelligence. Without love, power will manifest as atrocity. Atrocity, I hope you understand, it just means, very violent or cruelty, that sort of meaning is. So this is, we've talked about something like this 2 pages ago. Love is good, but will is necessary to get things done. And even more important, there needs to be a sense of purpose for the will to be directed into the right direction. You remember we talked about it. This you have to go from here and reach here. Now, if you go like this, you are going to hit it. But if you go like this, then you are not. So that purpose is with that will has to. You are being very industrious. You are being very hardworking, but that hard work is not directed. So that is why Master says it has to be under intelligence, so that you are choosing the right objective and you are choosing the right goals. You are choosing the right methods. And then what is it that you are trying to achieve? That requires the development of the heart, the love aspect, so that what you are doing is good, maybe for you, of course, but also good for the world. You see, we have many choices. We can do anything you want to achieve, can be done in many ways. choose the way that is good for the world and, of course, good for you. Do things in a manner where it is good for you, but also good for them. And here I would just like to remind you, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record on this, but the biggest danger facing mankind now is the environment. We have to choose or find ways to do whatever we want to do, but in a manner which is good for the environment. Otherwise, we will be left with no world to work in, or otherwise, the entire human race will work out too much bad karma to really be able to focus on our purpose. Why we are given the life is to progress spiritually, but we need a reasonable amount of comfort around us. If the environment goes completely haywire, it will be very difficult. Yeah. So my point is, will is necessary, but will must be under the the influence of, or influenced by, or controlled by love, so that you choose the right purpose, to choose the right goal, and intelligence and wisdom, so that you are using the right methods. So again we are reminded of the Trinity: light, love, and power. And there must be balance. Because if will becomes out of control, then we become cruel. We can even become, there was a word that Master used earlier, that you can become like a tyrant. Ruthless. Ruthless was the word Master. So we don't want to be ruthless. Yeah. All right. So I think we can end our session here today.